People now, they hit the pitch we throw. If we change the pitch, they'll hit that one too. Between the healthcare we have and the healthcare we could have lies not just a gap, but a chasm. That's how big the difference is between what we could be doing and what we are doing. I think we have to recognize as a country we could have a care system that we can sustain for the long haul, and it'll be far better performing than what we have now if we get together and work on it. I don't blame anybody. They're just doing what makes sense, and we have to change what makes sense.
If our civilian healthcare system is smoldering and we see it's going to catch on fire and burn pretty soon and is going to be unsustainable because of the costs, the military system is already on fire. It is a burning platform, and they see this. The costs are going through the roof, and the ability to help these service members and their families recover and repair and come back to a functional life is getting less and less.
I was in the worst place in Afghanistan. Korengal, the water pur, it's the most intense battleground that you can ever be in. I lost a lot of good men. Still bothers me to this day. I'm 2.5 months out of combat. My very best friend from war, he was on narcotics. He overdosed, respiratory shutdown. I lost him. And from that point on, I realized that I don't want to be on this. I don't want to go down the same path. I came to Walter Reed. I was on Valium just for the anxiety. I was on antidepressants. But I was on Trazodone, Klonopin. I was so dependent on my pain medication. This medications I was on. You understand? That is how many medications I was on. When you're injured, they feed you. All this stuff. It's addictive. It is so addictive. I'd rather be shot again than go through withdrawals of coming off that medicine. No soldier should have to go through this.
As we've pushed medical innovation and capability to the leading edge of the battlefield, where we can save their life, we've got some guys that have some horrific injuries, and they're getting narcotics for a longer period of time. They certainly are at risk to develop dependency, and that's what we're trying to avoid. The Army Surgeon General directed that we establish the Pain Management Task Force to take a look at alternatives to narcotics.
There's very large randomized trials done at multiple centers that have demonstrated that acupuncture works. So we put together a study to see if we can actually insert this simple acupuncture technique during the aerovacs of wounded soldiers into Walter Reed and other medical centers in the United States. The question was, can we relieve their pain and reduce the amount of medications that they're on so by the time they get back, they're not snowed under on multiple medications.
Guten Abend, welcome to Germany, and welcome home. I know you're heading home and you're excited.
What at first seems like strange bedfellows, healing-oriented mind-body practices and sort of the hardcore military, actually is an opportunity that they jumped at because of the pragmatic need in nature that the wars have driven them to respond to.
There's a very, very small chance that we have an infection or any of those kind of problems.
I am very skeptical about it. This idea that putting some little stick pins in your ear is going to cure pain on a 9-hour flight.
It wears on your lower back wearing, a 40-pound vest, and it's got to the point where the pain's radiating from my back down to my hips and then down into my thighs. And that's it. It's my nightly routine.
First one's going in.
How's your pain, sir?
I feel like I'm warming up a little bit. Pretty impressive. Especially for it to react that quickly.
When you put the acupuncture needles in the ear, you see the activity drops down. So what has happened is you have reduced the signals or the processing of the pain.
When you provide a small stimulus like that, the body responds by trying to heal itself, trying to repair itself.
Right there. Okay. Go ahead and bend down.
It's pretty good.
Any pain?
Not when I'm doing that.
Normally you would?
Oh, yes. I haven't touched my toes in
Well,
months.
it means we're getting the needles in the right place.
Okay.
I haven't even gotten near my toes in months, unless I do this,
How are you doing?
Oh, good. Yeah, actually, I want you there when I go into surgery.
Hi. How are you feeling?
I have pain, but it's more of an annoyance than it is pain. It's sore.
If you didn't have the acupuncture needles, how do you think you would be feeling now?
I've been chomping narcotics.
Oh, you would?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you haven't taken it
No.
because of that. That's good.
15 years ago, we did a consensus conference at the National Institutes of Health, and we asked the question, do we have good evidence to show that acupuncture is safe and effective for any condition? They said, absolutely, it's been demonstrated that acupuncture is safe and effective, especially with post-operative and injury pain. 15 years later, you can't walk into your average hospital today and get acupuncture after an operation. The problem is not that it doesn't work. The problem is that we haven't figured out how to get it into the system so that we can make it widely available to the population.
In the last few years, a profound change has begun in American medicine.
Dr. Dean Ornish has studied and written about diet and heart disease for decades.
In medical school, I was learning how to do bypass surgery with Michael DeBakey, the heart surgeon. We'd cut people open, we'd bypass their blocked arteries, and he would tell them they were cured, and they'd go home and more often than not eat the same junk food, smoke, and not manage stress, not exercise, and then often their bypasses would clog up. So we cut them open, we bypass their bypass, sometimes multiple times. I said, there's got to be a better way. We spend so much time in medicine mopping up the floor around the sink that's overflowing without also turning off the faucet. If we just literally or figuratively bypass the problem with angioplasties and stents or lifetimes of drugs or other kinds of interventions, then more often than not the same problem comes back again. But what we're finding is that if we turn off the faucet, if we treat the underlying causes, which to a large degree are not so much our genes but our lifestyle, that our bodies have a remarkable capacity to begin healing themselves. And these chronic diseases can not only be prevented but even reversed much more quickly than we had once realized. When I went to medical school, I started reading all the medical literature and realized that in dogs and cats and pigs and rabbits and monkeys, you could cause them to get heart disease if you put them on a bad diet and didn't let them exercise and put them under emotional stress. But you could reverse it if you changed those same things. So I thought, why should people be any different? And everybody said, that's a crazy idea. There's no way this can work. What's the matter with you? I've spent more than 30 years of doing these studies, showing that heart disease could be reversed by changing what we eat, how we respond to stress, how much we exercise, and how much love and support we have in our lives. In our model, the physician acts as a quarterback, and he or she assembles a team of 5 other people to work with: a nurse, a yoga teacher, an exercise physiologist, a registered dietitian, and a clinical psychologist. And when we work at that level, we find that people are much more likely to make these sustainable changes. And the patient learns how to empower themselves and to transform their lives.
"25 years ago, I had 5 restaurants in San Francisco. It was a great life. I smoked 6 cigars a day, 10 cups of coffee, a lot of wine. It was wonderful. And I had a massive heart attack. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I could hardly just about walk 3 steps, and I'd have to stop and rest. I was popping 20 or 30 nitrils a day. But then Dean Ornish was starting his program to see if you can reverse heart disease through lifestyle change. And he went to my doctor and asked if he could approach me. He told Dean, "How long is the program?" So he said it was a year. And my doctor told him he wouldn't recommend taking me because he didn't think I would live the year. So he figured I was going to die because I was in such bad shape. And now I'm 25 years later, and I'm in pretty good shape.
We found that after a year, the men who made these intensive lifestyle changes, their physical heart disease improved. It caused their blockages to become less blocked in their arteries. And that was the first study showing that heart disease was reversible. But when you're doing something that has never been done before, it's not universally accepted, to say the least. It was met with a huge amount of skepticism and resistance. People say, well, you're doing this radical intervention. You know, I say, radical? Like compared to having your chest cut open? I mean, give me a break. We need to empower people to change their lifestyle. And if we can make it reimbursable, that really brings it into the mainstream. Now, as you know, heart and blood vessel diseases kill more Americans than virtually everything else combined. And it's treated with things like angioplasties and stents and bypass surgery. And yet, what does the evidence really show? Unless you're in the middle of having a heart attack, which 95% of people who get them are not, they don't prolong your life, they don't even prevent heart attacks. We have a model that works simply by making changes in diet and lifestyles. And in our studies for the last 32 years, we've used very high-tech, expensive, state-of-the-art measures to prove how powerful these very simple and low-tech and low-cost interventions can be.
Now to a new study that shows diet may be a key tool in the fight against cancer. The study was conducted by Dr. Dean Ornish, who looked at patients with early-stage prostate cancer.
More than half of men over the age of 50 get a PSA test every year to try to detect prostate cancer early. It turns out lots and lots of men who had a cancer that didn't need to be treated, but they got treated anyway, and it was causing a lot of harm.
There's very little evidence that these conventional treatments make you live longer, but they cause many men to be impotent or incontinent or both. And so there's a subset of men who have diagnosed biopsy-proven prostate cancer who elect not to get treated conventionally.
My path crossed with Dean's because we both wanted to try and bring rigorous clinical trial testing to this hypothesis that lifestyle intervention could have an important impact on men with early-stage prostate cancer. I'm one of the busiest surgeons in the country. However, I don't believe every man with prostate cancer needs immediate treatment. So instead, you follow them very carefully and you treat them at the first sign of progression. If you can delay treatment, then that man is not at risk for side effects during that period of time.
Hey, Liz.
Luke, come on in.
Dr. Peter Carroll and I collaborated with Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, who won the Nobel Prize in Medicine, and she had done a study showing that stress creates shorter telomeres. And as your telomeres get shorter, your life gets shorter.
Telomeres are the ends of chromosomes, and chromosomes have all our genetic information on them. When telomeres wear down and get frayed, the genetic material would get messed up. That prevents tissues from renewing themselves in the body, and diseases take hold.
I thought most things in biology go both ways, so if bad things make your telomeres shorter, maybe good things will make them longer. So we took the men with prostate cancer to see if lifestyle changes can affect gene expression and even telomeres.
The research found that embracing a low-fat vegetarian diet, exercising half an hour a day, and taking part in daily stress-reducing activities can actually change the regulation of genes that are key players in cancer development and contribute to better overall survival.
We found that the men who underwent lifestyle intervention, their PSA rates generally went down and they were less likely to require treatment.
The program increased the telomere length. We even found that when you change your lifestyle, over 500 genes were changed. In effect, turning on the genes that prevent disease, turning off the genes that promote breast cancer, prostate cancer, and colon cancer. And even drugs, even pharma, hasn't been shown to do that.
This puts a language of numbers and molecular readouts to Dean Ornish or less interventions that many in the medical field, I think, feel more comfortable with.
These lifestyle changes can not only work as well as drugs and surgery, but often even better at a fraction of the cost, and the only side effects are good ones.
Almost 1 year into the fellowship, I joined this new practice.
Hello, how are you?
They promised me that I could make the practice whatever I wanted it to be. And if I don't want to see 6 patients an hour, I don't have to see 6 patients an hour.
We're the only clinic in Skamania County, so it's about 20,000 people overall that we're the only providers for.
Ay, lo siento. Lo siento.
We're part of the community. All of us live here and work here.
How are you today? Good. There's been a lot of change in me in that transition between La Clinica and here. I can act more as a guide for patients, taking the time to educate them and having them understand that there are choices that they have the power to make for themselves. If you have that desire to quit smoking, we'll get there eventually. Yeah. Okay? We just have to keep working towards that. And interestingly, patients really respond to that. Did you go to the diabetes education? What did you think about that?
It was okay. Kind of gave me more idea on what to eat.
Okay.
And all that, so.
Okay. You lost 5 pounds.
Mm-hmm. I quit drinking too. So.
How much were you drinking before?
6 and over.
A day?
A day for 25 years. So.
Wow. What made you decide to do that?
Well, that had to be something to do with my diabetes.
Mm-hmm. I'm really, really pleased. You just look different. So that's rewarding for me.
I feel different. I had to do something. Guess I need to come back in a month or so.
Almost every study says that the doctor that has the greatest impact on your health in general, the greatest impact on the health of a population, is primary care doctors. We need primary care doctors.
Yeah, your thyroid is a little bit big.
What's happened today is we found ourselves in a position where we don't have enough primary care clinicians to provide that important, fundamental level of care.
When was your last mammogram and pap smear? Have you?
2008.
Why? We have underpaid on a chronic basis, under-rewarded primary care. Some would say over-rewarded specialty and subspecialties.
Okay, so first topic, Medicaid reimbursement. About 3 weeks ago, because of the state budget crisis, we got told with very little notice that Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement was going to be cut by about 25%. So to make up that difference in the reimbursement rates decreasing, we're changing to shorter appointments next week. We're on track for that on Tuesday.
So right now, the only way we have to make up the difference is basically to see more people.
Great.
That's maybe a little bit of a culture shift too for the patients. And if they have a relationship with you feeling truncated, that's going to be a little bit of a change and a little unfortunate.
It's a financial necessity. That's the only reason we're making the change, right? I mean,
but you have to have the time to educate your patients. And they don't reimburse for nutritional counseling or anything like that. But we're going to talk to them about it still, you know.
We all know there's things we can do, and those things make us all feel good, and we like to do them. But we're going to feel really bad if our door's closed, and then we're not going to help anybody.
Conventional wisdom is over the next 2 years, we will likely go out of business. We're fighting everything for that not to happen, but it's because there isn't the funding going into primary care. It goes into the other areas, and it's just not sustainable. Dr. Martin has a lot more time with patients right now because she's really ramping up her schedule, but she's not covering her costs, so the rest of the physicians are covering her costs right now. Because we're a physician-owned and physician-run practice, she's in charge of her own schedule. But if that reimbursement level is smaller and smaller, she's going to have a lot less time to spend with patients so that we can at least cover our costs and stay in business.
Because of the bottom line, because of the cuts that are coming through the government, if it came to the point where they couldn't pay me anymore, that would suck, but I'm not afraid. Because I've gotten a lot of inspiration from the fellowship, a different perspective, that there's a different way of doing things that is possible.
Did you have a good day today?
Yes. I would probably leave healthcare before I went back to practicing the way I practiced last year.